Welcome back in, everybody. It is a pleasure to have you on board again this week for Pro Football Plus, anything we feel like getting into. We are going to hit a couple of heavy things this week, and you'll find out more about that here in just a few minutes. But it's a privilege to have you on board. We have Yusef back in the building, Shane back in the building with not only his Expos gear, but his Notre Dame gear with a successful lacrosse pick behind him as well. So it's a privilege to have everyone back at the building tonight. We've got 30 minutes of rock hard fun going on tonight. So let's get right to it. First of all, NFL stuff. I got to walk back and take I put out there last week. I said we'd back off the NFL over the next few weeks. We're about half the show is NFL tonight. So here we go. Let's get it wound up. The NFC West, best and worst coaches in that division. Austin's not with us tonight. So Shane, you're up.
So I have to start off with Ben. I really there's not a coach in this division that I don't like. A lot of the other ones are pretty easy to pick. For the best in this one, I went with McVay. I think offensively he's shown he does a good job of having to replace coordinators, both offensively and defensively. And I feel that he has a good grasp of what GM and owners are going to push on him, so they've been the best. On the worst, I have to go with what we've basically made, a system here for the podcast. I went with McDonald. I think he's going to be a good head coach. I think he's been a great defensive coordinator, but being the new guy in, never being a head coach before, you automatically put him on the bottom rung.
Yeah, it's and again, part of this isn't fair, but it's something we do as an exercise. Yusef, where are you sitting on these?
All right. As far as I'm kind of with Shane on liking everybody for one reason or another, with one exception. As far as the best goes, I'm going with McVay as well. I mean, he's 70-45. He had one down year since the Super Bowl, had 3 down years totally in 8 years, which is not bad. High levels of adversity, but he's really elite at adjusting and getting the best out of the players that he has. I think we've seen that the past 2 or 3 years. Didn't have the big names that we've been accustomed to on the Rams on the field with the Rams, but he's made the most out of what he has. So I'm giving props for that. Now the worst is really hard because 2 of the guys don't have a whole lot of experience. I'm going with what we see right now. That's going to be with Jonathan Gannon, second year. 2-14. He had issues at quarterback with Josh Dobbs. It wasn't pretty. Not really Gannon's fault. Just Dobbs gets some of the blame, but it's kind of too early to tell still. But just kind of by default, I'm gonna give it to him. McDonald hasn't had time to do anything yet, and I can't say anything about anybody else in San Fran, so I got to leave that one alone. But so right now, by default, it's Gannon.
All right, this is a tough division. You're both right on this. I picked Shanahan as my favorite. I just really like the way Shanahan does a lot of things, and I feel like, and again, you can claim anything that hasn't happened yet, right? I feel like if Shanahan had at some point along the way gotten a higher level quarterback, he would already have at least 1 Super Bowl win, if not 2. He's been that close a couple of times. Now, again, McVay's got 1, and Shanahan doesn't. So I love McVay too. I think they are neck and neck. I like Shanahan, but boy, McVay is so good across the board at everything. I love both of those coaches. I think those 2 coaches are right there in the top 3 or 4 coaches in the NFL for me. I just like both of them that good, and they both happen to be in the same division. I've got Gannon at the bottom. It's not that I don't like Gannon, but we just have yet to see, and Arizona is a tough place to show what you got, man. I mean, you got McVay and Shanahan in the same division that you're going up against. So Gannon's got a lot of work to do. I've got him sitting at the bottom for now. All right, we're going to stay in the same division. First time we've done it this way. I probably should have done it this way from the get-go, but we're going to stay in the same division. Best and worst uniforms in the NFC West. Shane.
I'm going to stick with what I've always said for the worst, and that is the poor Arizona Cardinals. So you can put that on Gannon as well. Like, that is a team that I am ready to ship off to the CFL. I think the red and white, I think it worked okay when they were St. Louis, decades ago. I don't like what it's done for them now. Kind of a change. I normally go for the classic. So San Francisco normally would have been a best for me, but I actually do like the Seahawks in this case. I think their color scheme works well. It's the darker colors. It's Seattle. It works for what they do. And I think from what it was before, I think they have reached to where their classics, this New Jersey is better than what the classics were, Steve Largent running around.
Yourself, where you sitting on the uniforms?
Man, most of the classics are really good, man. I like the old Steve Largent number 80. I like that. I don't like that bright, blinding neon green thing they've been trying to pull off. That's not happening. So I'm picking the Niners as far as the best uniform. It is classic, clean lines. I think it works pretty good. I don't like the gold pants when they do it, but it's kind of, I don't think they do that very often. I'd rather have the red or the white pants. But as far as the Cardinals, they're going to be my worst as well. The red and white, I'm okay with that. Kind of like if you look at some Larry Fitzgerald in his time, that was fine. This whole black and red thing, this whole trying to be menacing look, it's not working for me. So I'm ready to ship them off too, brother. So no, the Cardinals are the worst for me too. The black and reds are kind of failed right now. Fashion, faux pas, if you will.
Yusef, I got to ask, which is worse for you, that neon green of Seattle or the old Kelly green of the Eagles from the 90s?
Good God. Are they wearing the dingy gray pants?
Yeah, yes, of course.
If they are, then it's going to be them. That's a deal breaker. Yeah. I'll go with the neon before I can take that. I can't. Those dingy pants, that was an atrocity.
Got it. I don't like. Yeah, I hear you. I don't like the Cardinals black. I don't usually like black jerseys unless that was the original theme concept for whatever team. Like the Ravens, I like it on the Ravens, even though I didn't pick them as the favorite in that division. So I don't like any of the Cardinals black. But the Cardinals red and white is fine, but there's just nothing impressive about it. And again, it's attached to not a lot of tradition, not a lot of winning. So I'm going to put them as the worst. Even though I don't hate it, there's just really no emotion attached to it there at all. And I've got the 49ers as my favorite. I love the 49ers uniform, that red and gold. I just absolutely love it. Almost any version of it. But again, my memory of the late 80s and early 90s is probably my favorite version of that 49ers jersey. But almost any version of that 49ers thing I can take. I would have picked the Rams, but I don't like their latest version, that kind of glossy, gluey, sticky sticker type look. I don't quite like that as good as what they had, say, late 70s, all through the 80s, all through the 90s, and then most of the 2000s. Those color versions I just thought were better. I don't quite like that Rams version that they're using the past 3-4 years, whatever it is. So anyway, that's where that sits. We're done with the uniforms. We are going to stay in the division once again, NFC West, for tonight's attack mode, which again is one of my favorite segments that we're doing these days. I think my favorite. Not too deep, but just kind of looking at things. I think what we picked was give me 1 second, y'all, the 49ers offense. So what we're doing tonight, we're attacking the 49ers offense, but you can only use one of the defenses that is in the division. So the Rams defense, the Cardinals defense, the Seahawks defense. Pick any one you want and attack the 49ers offense with it. Shane?
See, I went Seahawks defense on this one. Like I said, I like McDonald as a head coach. He's done a great job as a coordinator. Kind of like what we talked about before. If you're looking at that Baltimore defense and what it can do, he was the recent coordinator for Baltimore. I think they have the best fit. San Francisco likes to go out of multiple formations, multiple groupings, and I think that they fit best. The other thing is Seattle has been a defensive team since Pete Carroll's been there. So you know that the players are already built in line. They might not fit that exact defense, but you already have some defensive players that are ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that's where I'll be going as well. Yusef, which defense did you try to use tonight?
I wrote down all these stats and everything and didn't write the name of the team that I'm talking about. So this is.
Let's see if we can guess it. Yeah, go ahead and tell us the stats and see if we can guess it, man.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe it. It's been a kind of week. But this is one of the situations where the secondary is kind of the best of the worst. They were all kind of not great in specific areas, especially against San Fran. This is an untested defense. They utilized press coverage versus Minnesota and held Jefferson about 0 touchdowns. Not sure that helps you guys at all. They smothered Jamar Chase versus Cincinnati. They relied heavily on a 5-man front, but a lot of the game they had a big hole in the middle, and it kind of cost them. But that's what I had. I'm feeling as though this must have been Arizona, man. because oh, this is so awkward. I'm sorry, brother.
That's all right, man. Just roll with
This
it
is
and
this
tell
is
us
this
what
is
you're
this has been
thinking.
an awkward week. My daughter is, moved, but she officially moved out today. So it's been like chaos around here.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that's my best
Well,
excuse. But it got to be Arizona,
congratulations, and I'm
not
sorry all at the
Seattle.
same time.
I didn't like Seattle's secondary. Beside gigs I wouldn't care for. So it has to be Arizona. So I think I picked the best of the worst because they had pieces they brought back and they adding some new rookies back there as well. It has to be. It has to be. So because they have they got Thompson and Buda Baker still out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arizona was the team. Yeah, that's who it was. So Arizona, they played Minnesota and they held Jefferson down, and they played Cincy and held Chase back as well. So they kind of smothered him. So I said they might have a chance against San Fran. They can hold, they can plug that middle of the field. I think they'd be okay there. So.
Yeah, Gannon knows his defense, so yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I
And
went
they
with
got Tre'Davious
Seattle.
White. That was
They got
it.
Tre'Davious White
That's how I
too.
know it is. They got Tre'Davious White from the Bills, and they got they're hoping that Kobe Turner replaces Armstead, which is kind of a big shoes to fill. But they definitely need a pass rush. So that if they don't have that, it's going to be a long, long day at the office. But that's how I know it's Arizona, because they added Tre'Davious. So
Yeah, absolutely. None of
redemption.
these defenses, none of these defenses are great, but we were playing the game tonight of just how we would attack it. I would have
Mhm.
picked the Rams, but I just don't like their personnel quite enough. I like McVay. McVay and him usually got a plan for the 49ers, that's pretty effective, but I just don't like their personnel enough. So I went with Seattle tonight again. You mentioned that McDonald is the coach. Even though he's new, he'll know what to do there. He'll only get better on the defensive side of the football for sure. Seattle's got a lot of pieces on that side of the football on defense. They really do. Now, are they super strong up the middle? No. Do they need a little bit of help in the secondary? Yes. But they've still got several pieces there that I like. What I would do if I'm attacking that 49ers defense, I'm going to that 49ers offense, excuse me, I'm going to set my defense in. So I'm going to try to mess up as much as I can a lot of that mesh crossing stuff and try to eliminate that. And hopefully, what that hope is going to do, that's going to make Brock Purdy hold on to the ball a little bit longer, have to throw a little bit deeper, and maybe we get to him. So in theory, at least, Purdy's got to throw deeper, which he's not as good at. And in theory, at least, if he's holding on to the ball a second longer, then he's going to have a little bit more rushing in his space. So that's my theory there. I think Seattle can accomplish a lot of that, actually. I really do. Now, again, can they shut down the 49ers offense? Probably not, but that at least would give us a chance there. And I'm going to load up on the run, too. So, again, I'm going to suck that defense in. We're going to load up against the run, load up against all that short passing stuff, and try to get the 49ers to do stuff that they really don't like to do. Shane?
Yeah, see, the big thing I think you mentioned there too, Ben, is I would have gone with the Rams, but the second that Aaron Donald retired, that defense has completely changed. The pressure that he gives, the ability for him to increase everybody else, the factor that the second he steps on the field, 3 offensive linemen are going to him automatically. So I don't know how that defense is going to deal with that. They have some great players around him, but there's no Aaron Donald out there. And that completely changes how that defense plays. If he was still around for another year, just like you said, he's great at getting that internal pressure. Brock Purdy has difficulty once he has to get back outside of the tackles and make those plays. So that would have been a real push for me. But with him being retired and trying to decide what he's going to do with the next part of his life, I think that puts that defense in real trouble for the Rams.
It
That's
changes
the team that I
everything.
picked, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's not Arizona, because Tre'Davious is on the Rams. And when you said that, I looked down like, wait a minute, Kobe Turner's he's replacing Aaron Donald, supposedly.
Yep.
So my apologies. Rams, what I picked. Your point is good, though. I believe that without Donald being there, that defense changes. So I don't feel great about that pick at all. But out of the 3 options that we had, I thought it might be the best. I thought they were pretty stable in their secondary with Cameron Curl and everybody. So I don't feel great about it, but I'm going with the Rams like you did.
Yeah, you're right. Aaron Donald being gone changes everything. They'll never have anybody. I mean, heck, nobody will ever have anybody like that for another 20, 30, 40 years before we see seeing anybody like that. So, but they can still have a good defense. So they'll just have to build it a different way. So, all right. That's our NFL side of things tonight. We are switching gears into something that's, I think, important to all of us. We'll take it in any direction we want to, but Memorial Day was yesterday. And listen, for anybody that wants to talk generally about the people who were in the military and gave their lives and lost their lives, that's totally fine. We're going to get a little specific tonight for any of the guys that want to. If they want to stay general, that's fine. I'll hang on to mine for last. But again, we all try to have a lot of fun yesterday. I did the same, but there were a lot of people that died to allow us to do that. So we're going to take just a couple minutes here, and it may be a little heavy, so we'll get into it. But Shane, what you got on the Memorial Day front tonight?
Yeah, I think, like you said, Ben, that's the important part is, again, thinking about the freedoms and enjoyments that we get to have on this day for those people that made the ultimate sacrifice. My family's been lucky. I have veterans. I haven't had anyone that's been lost through their service time. I think sports wise, this always comes up. People bring up like Pat Tillman. For me, the lacrosse, Brandon Looney was a Naval Academy graduate, Navy SEAL, passed away in Afghanistan. The thing that really brings it to me, though, is a coworker of mine, 20-year Marine. One of his final duties was to welcome the bodies back home. And just talking to him over the years about what that experience is and being the last person that drops them off at the home base with the family that gets to come in and see him. And I think like those times are the times that you think most about Memorial Day. Like that family, not only did that person make the ultimate sacrifice, but that family, those mothers, those daughters, the wives, like they're never going to get to see that person again. And they join the military for that opportunity. So that, I mean, anytime that day rolls around, I think that those are the things I think about first. So you think about the gravestones, things like that, D-Day and some of those opportunities, and also some of the other countries, like what they think about for World War II memorials, what the other countries do when you think about what the U.S. had done on some foreign soil as well.
Yeah, it's brutal, and that's very well put. Obviously, our words won't be enough. Nobody's words are. But that's very well put. I would not want that job, greeting those bodies as they came home. I'd be honored to have it, but I don't know that I emotionally would really want to be able to be doing that on a consistent basis. Yusuf.
I'm saving a challenge and stuff for my 60 because there's no, I couldn't finish everything else up. But this is one of those times where, strangely, I think about people that I've known that served, that passed away, either in service or when they gotten back home. My pops is one of those. But I do think about sports, and I think that's intentional. It's been linked together as maybe perhaps a intentional way of galvanizing the country and bringing everybody together. I can see visually, even right now when I think about it, American flags draped across football fields and baseball fields, and planes flying overhead waving the flag. I mean, that's part of it for me. I mean, some people they're locked in on grilling out and laying on the beach and doing nothing. I'm thinking about that. I actually want to see sports. I actually want to have the reminder, not that I really need it, but to have the reminder of that in a place where I hang out so much, which is in the sports land. But I found a quote that I thought was just so awesome. It's really short, really brief, but it just says it all, and it kind of says what I probably couldn't say with my own words. It says, "We don't know them all, but we owe them all." And I'm like,
yes, sir.
that does it for me. So it's like I'm just grateful for all the people who are still serving and have served, the families who had to hold it down while their loved ones were out, fighting for our liberties and our freedoms, and the first responders and police, fire, and AMBO, and all the people who are fighting for us out there on the front line. So I'm just grateful for that. I'm glad I can say that and say that under the covering of what they've done for us. So I'm pretty grateful.
Yes, sir. No, I love all of that. Listen, I got respect for anybody from any country really who's going to go out and fight and risk their life. I mean, that takes a whole lot of balls to do that, no matter what age you are, man or woman, I don't care. It takes a lot of guts to do that. So I respect anybody who's willing to do that. But again, Memorial Day, we're talking about the people who actually didn't make it back. And listen, for the families, again, as bad as it is for the person who died, obviously the families are the ones who have to carry that burden on for decades, and think about what could have been, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, son, daughter. I mean, that's a brutal cross to carry. And a lot of people all through this country do it, and I appreciate all of them. I've got one specific friend I'll mention tonight that I grew up with. I knew him in the 80s. He moved away. I knew him again in the 90s. He moved away for a couple of years. I knew him again in the late 90s, and we hung out a lot 3 different times. And, by 16, he was a workout warrior. His name was Tony Jones, and I got permission from the family to mention him tonight. His name was Tony Jones. He grew up in the lower part of the state, kind of the Sumter, Estill part of the state. And then he came up here to the upstate quite a bit, the Greenville, South Carolina area. And by 16, though, he was a workout warrior. You talk about a guy that just, was physically fit, beefed up in the weight room all the time. And, by the early 2000s, I don't remember exactly what year he went away. By the early 2000s, he was in the military, and then he was overseas. And, I think he was about 2 or 3 years into his military career overseas. And he got killed as a result of a roadside bomb. One of the vehicles that he was in got tagged with it, and then that was it. He was gone. But Tony Jones, I've got a picture of him that I carry around a lot of days. We all have days like this where, things are tough, and things are aggravating. And sometimes I'll pull that picture out and just remind myself that I get to live this day and he didn't. That's been 20 years ago. That's 20 years that he didn't get. And a lot of soldiers don't get, a lot of military personnel don't get. They're gone at the age of 19, 20, 25, and they don't get the rest of this. They don't get the kids and the grandkids and all of that. They miss out on all of that, and Tony was one of those people. And, so I appreciate what he was willing to do for our country. And then the family, his sister actually sent me a picture yesterday, the day before, of his family. He left a wife and some kids. The kids are grown up now, man. I mean, they've all pressed on like they've had to, but it was just encouraging to see them being able to carry on with life, even after paying such a heavy price, really almost 20 years ago now. So we miss Tony. Hats off to the family, and our respect to everybody who's been a part of having to pay such a heavy price of saying goodbye to a loved one, or actually being the one who was gone. So Memorial Day, we all try to have fun. If the soldiers were here, they'd be having fun too. That's exactly what everybody would be doing. But we do want to stop and say thank you to everybody who bore that burden and really took on the heavy loss. So that's all I'm going to say on that tonight. But again, thank you. Our words aren't enough. We're going to do a very awkward segue off of that. I didn't really want to end with that tonight. I think Yusef may have another piece later on at the end of the show. We're going to do an awkward segue, but we're going to segue back into the WNBA tonight. And I wanted to wait a couple of weeks into the season to kind of give us a feel for what some of these players were doing. But tonight we're picking players most likely to win MVP, most likely to win Rookie of the Year, most likely to become President of the United States, and because I'm just a weirdo, most likely to get lost in the woods on a very long hike. So Shane, give us your nominees for these 4 categories, man.
Okay, so for MVP, I went Aja Wilson. I think she comes from a great team. It's hard to pick the same MVP again and again, but it's the start of the season. She still looked great. For Rookie of the Year, I went chalk. I think most people are going to say Caitlin Clark just by the amount of press she's going to get. And as she figures it out, I think people will stick with her as well. For the president, I actually went for a former WNBA, Shinya Ogumake, from Stanford. But I think generally there are quite a few former Stanford grads in the WNBA right now. I think most of them have business degrees, international politics degrees. I think you're in a good spot if you pick one of those ladies. For the Lost in the Woods, I actually went with Cameron Brink on this to go back to a Stanford grad. But I think just tall. She's lived in Beaverton, Oregon. Her mom worked for Nike before, but I think when you look at her, she likes to be dressed. Significant other is a rower. I think if you're gonna get lost, there's a possibility that they might be the ones that get lost in the woods.
I'm laughing for 2 reasons. I'll tell you the other one in a minute. But I like all 4 of those, especially I like the Stanford grad president. That's certainly a good leeway. I'll get into mine here in a second. Yusef, you're up next.
All right. As far as the MVP, I guess I'm going with Aja Wilson also. Natural leader. I mean, she's already running away with this vote already. I doubt anything's going to change. Best center already. And she's probably the second best power forward. So she's doing double duty. So that's value. So the Aces are working that really well. As far as the rookie of the year, I know that everybody wants to go Caitlin. I'm gonna go off the cuff a little bit. I'm going with Cameron. Defensive stopper. She's already made history already. Third rookie with 5 blocks in the game. I think only Lisa Leslie and Candace Parker did that. So look like she's a generational talent. Look like the Sparks got a good player there. So I'm gonna put my theoretical money on her being the rookie of the year. As far as the president, this one was a little bit easy for me because I heard so much about her. Said she got a political gene inside of her, and that's Renee Montgomery from the Atlanta Dream. Took time away from the game to be an activist in the campaign for a senator locally out there. Dealt with a lot of the issues relating to the pandemic and racism issue with her ownership. I guess you guys heard that story also. She was a voice in that situation. She definitely got that kind of a desire to be that. I know going into politics can change her, so hopefully she can maintain that if she does do that, but keep that good heart about it. But she will be the president. We're doing that. Lost in the Woods. This is easy for me because I don't hate the person, but it's like you keep doing stuff that makes me think bad stuff about you. I'm going with Angel Reese from Chicago Sky. She be taking selfies of her IG and she be looking around and don't realize that her party already left and took a right and she's still going left, taking selfies. Easy for her to get lost in the woods. Self-absorbed, I think, lacks judgment, still attacking and shading other players that ain't even thinking about her, content to live in the present and not aim for the future. So I'm like, this is the perfect candidate to get lost in the woods. Perfect. Have a phone out. Oh my God, look at me. Look around. Or you see the darkness and eyes looking at her and her friend's already gone. They thought she was they thought she was behind them. They already killed. They left already. Angel Reese is gonna get lost in the woods without.
Obviously, we're playing a little bit here. We don't know all of these ladies super well. We know some of them better than others. So we're playing off of what we see in the media is obviously what I'm going to be doing as well. I love the Montgomery pick there. I didn't think of her, to be honest. I just legit did not even think about that. So that's actually a great pick there for president. My 4 are this. It's Wilson, Asia Wilson for sure. For MVP, listen, until somebody shows me a better player, I'm picking Wilson on my team every time. And until somebody shows me a better team than the Aces, I'm picking them to win the whole darn thing again. I mean, these guys are just killing it. They are absolutely smoking all over the place. So they're the champs, both individually and as a team until I see different. I just really love what they're doing. I went with Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year only because I've seen so many NFL awards where it's obvious the voters aren't watching tape and they aren't watching many games. They're just kind of going off of highlight reels. And guess who's on the highlight reels every night? It's Caitlin Clark. So listen, a lot of these awards are given out based on what voters just kind of see every night on ESPN. And Caitlin Clark is going to get the most ESPN time, hands down, until she just gets injured or is not playing good at all. And she's shown that she belongs on the court. She's not playing bad. She's not dominating, of course, but she's shown that she belongs on the court. She's scoring points, so she's going to get that award unless somebody else just blows her wheels off. But she's going to get a lot of the face time that's going to lead into the voters getting that. It's just my thoughts on it. For president, I went with Kalea Copper out of Phoenix. I just love her attitude and her mojo. She just looks like somebody that could really carry the day. Really reminds me just from an energy, charisma standpoint of Barack years and years ago. I don't usually see presidential candidates coming, but I saw Barack coming when he was doing the Illinois Senate thing. I just looked at that guy and said, hey, that guy's going to be president someday. When I look at Copper, I see that same energy. Now, whether or not she has any interest in doing politics at all, I have no idea, but I just see that same energy with her. So I picked Copper. I love her presence on the floor. She's tearing it up this season too. Watch out for Phoenix and for Copper this year. They are doing quite a bit of work. So we'll see what they can pull off as well. For my getting lost in the woods thing, all right, I thought about Aaliyah Boston first. When I looked at her, I just said, she might get lost in the woods on a hike. And then I told myself, no, she won't, because she ain't going on no hike. She ain't even going to go out in the woods in the first place. She's not that dumb. She's too smart to go do that. So I, too, then went and picked who Shane picked, and that's Cameron Brink. I picked Cameron Brink to be the one who's going to get lost in the woods on a hike. Maybe she wouldn't. Maybe she's an avid hiker. I don't know. But I'm just playing off of what I see here in the media. Again, Shane mentioned it. When you see the clothes she wears, the way she styles and profiles, like, I don't think she's probably going to do too well on a hike, but what do I know? So anyway, those are our nominees for the night from WNBA. Some of that serious and some of it a little bit fun. Speaking of fun, we have what has become my second favorite topic now that we have attack mode, and that is food again. So tonight's topic is best food you've ever had at a ball game, anytime, anywhere. So
a ball game. I didn't see
yes.
that part. Oh man.
Well, yourself, you can mix and match it any way you want, but it can be major league, minor league, local. I don't care if it's your local softball place, whatever. You tell us a story about food, and we'll trot into it. Shane.
See, like you said, Ben, for ballpark, I'm a hot dog and, your choice of beverage. But the best food that I've had that was kind of out there was PNC Park. They have Pimanti Brothers sandwich right there. So that's kind of a Pittsburgh, tradition. And that's the first time I've had that was inside that. And also that's a beautiful, beautiful park to be in. My wife and I saw that one time for our anniversary. We were amazed at how easy it was to get tickets there, which is crazy because they were actually good at the time. And the Pirates have another chance to be good. But that was the kind of the traditional one. I would be, hollered at by a member of my family if I didn't mention Dippin' Dots. My daughter, Emmy, loves Dippin' Dots. So regardless of where you are, what sport that is, if that's an opportunity, she's going to pick that, 10 out of 10.
All right. I love it. Dippin' Dots. Yourself, ball game or not, what's your food story tonight, man?
I haven't had a great food at a ball game experiences. So, but this one is close to home. We kind of grew up in a challenging upbringing. Didn't have a lot of money. Mom couldn't afford it. She worked 2 jobs and went to school at night. I would cook probably the same thing every night for her because I didn't know how to cook yet. I was using the oven, so I'd make her chicken patties and French fries. Yeah. And she never complained. It was food, and I made it for her so she could eat and rest. So one day we did something kind of special. We went to a place called Lenny's Clam Bar. It was kind of a classic back in New York, back over on I think off of Montague Street, downtown Brooklyn. It's not there anymore, but it's classic. It had garlic bread, calamari, spaghetti and meatballs, huge meatballs, nonstop marinara sauce. I ate like a king. That was my first quote unquote classy meal. Never had anything like that in my life. It was all normal stuff, I guess you can say. So that was my first classy meal. That I can still taste it. That was just the best thing I ever had. And I'm a former chef. I've cooked in restaurants. I've made stuff. Nothing tops that yet.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, for you to have had that kind of food background and still eating, found that to be the best place. I like it. All right. I never got to go to ball games as a kid. Just didn't happen. There were 6 of us growing up. We weren't going to any ball games, that's for sure. But as an adult, I've been privileged to go to several Clemson football games, Atlanta Braves Stadium, the old Turner, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Hawks. I've been able to go to several, thankfully. And I haven't had a whole lot of great food experiences. I'm starting to think that maybe most of the great food at ballparks is up north, like Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, those places. I don't know that. I haven't been to too many games up north. They've all been down here south. We got good Southern food. I just haven't located it at the ballparks yet. So the best food I've ever had has actually been at our local flag football stand. They got a concession stand there. The prices are perfect. They're like $1 for each. You get corn dogs that they've got there. We've got hamburgers there. You got the fries there. It's fantastic. So that's actually been, plus we get to eat it with the family there. That's actually been the best food experiences we've had here. I've enjoyed going to the other ball games at other places, but the food just hasn't been that great. I tend to find it a little too greasy, honestly, at a lot of the ballparks. I don't know why. If that's just a regional thing or all across the board. But anyway, that's my best food experience with the ballpark. And that'll be where we wrap up tonight on that. So final 60. I've actually got 2 final 60s tonight. I'm going to cheat a little bit, but Shane, you're up.
So I'm kind of hurt that Austin isn't here because I was going to go movie this run. My daughter and I went to go see If with Ryan Reynolds. It's one of those ones where if you pick it out as a parent because the child loves it, you're going to enjoy the comedy part, but it's a pretty serious movie, especially I felt from a parent perspective, just in what it deals with. But normally on this one, Austin gets to pick a film that he's going to tear apart because it's terrible, and they have been. But I enjoyed this movie. My daughter enjoyed it. Like I said, a little bit of a tearjerker, I imagine, for most parents. But that's my 60 seconds. Not oftentimes I branch out of the sports for 60 seconds, but we'll go the movie run this time.
Wow. Okay. So it is a bit of a tearjerker. I didn't realize that. I'd seen some previews. I didn't realize there is some sadness to it. Okay.
Yeah, I will state that I'm not the overly emotional person, but it definitely got to me. And a couple other people that were in the audience said I thought that this was supposed to be a funny movie as they were holding back tears in the beginning. So I won't ruin it for
Wow.
anybody, but I did think it was a good movie. Really wraps some things up, and I thought it was good for especially teenagers. It talks a lot about transitions in life. So all around, I give it an A+ on that one. So.
Wow. Okay. I love it. We are going to watch the movie. We may wait until it comes out on streaming, but we're definitely going to watch the movie. Me and my kids. I try to watch all the movies. And listen, I love movie theaters, but with 3 kids, we can't usually hit every movie in the theater every time. So we'll go to the movie theater every once in a while, see one that we just got to see in theaters, and then the rest of the time we'll stream it for what, $4, $5, $6, right? And we're definitely going to see the movie if it's not already out on streaming. We will see it when it comes out. Yusef.
All right. Well, here we go. I think we're at our best as humans when we connect with others and their stories. I think that's when when humans do their best work. But this is mine is about my sister's about my pops, Army veteran for decades. He was in Vietnam. He came back home with some issues. Everybody that was in that particular war in service during that time, they all had speculation about Agent Orange and whether it was real, whether it was a real impact. He came back with some issues and he passed away suddenly. I got a phone call from my little sister. I think it was a brain aneurysm, something to that effect. So we kind of thought it was a connection between the two things. But every thought about him is surrounded by the American flag. It was the main thing that I knew about him. He was a singer. He worked tirelessly in his local ministry. He was a loving father to my little sister. But I always thought about the flag. It's right over here over my right shoulder in my man cave / podcast room / office. So always here. He's proud of his service to his country, proud, love his country. I mean, it were things that he probably should have fought for when he got back. Some things he should have kind of used his voice to rally against, but he would never do it. He loved the country so much that he'd rather be silent than say anything against his country. And I thought that was admirable. I didn't understand it at the time, but he literally gave everything for his country. So we celebrate and love you, Pops. Godspeed, man.
Yeah, I love it. I hate that he had those struggles, but it sounded like quite a guy. So hats off to your pops, and hopefully, I know he's watching. If he's not busy, he's watching you right now. So he may be busy. So, but yeah, hats off to your pops. Really, really appreciate the story and his service too. Man, so many dads, but yours tonight. My final 60, I have 2. First of all, on a much, much lighter note, Shane has actually won our 10-5-1 championship. I had an applause bit all lined up, and I can't get it to work because I'm an old fart who's not very good at technology. But anyway, hats off to Shane for winning our first 10-5-1 championship. It all came down to who would finish second in stolen bases Sunday night. So Cavallero actually finished tied for a second. So that boosted a couple of people, but Shane still won the title. I finished at where was I? I'm finished at 29. Yusef at 20, Corey at 45, Austin at 19. Shane ends up on the plus side at 55. We're going to start another one here. I'm going to twist it just a little bit. We're going to start another one here in just a week or two because it's really a great segue for us to talk about a lot of games and really kind of add another level of interest to that. But congratulations, Shane. Any victory speech or anything, man?
No, like I said to you, you mentioned quickly, man, on Twitter, like it's coming down to it. And I picked the Wolves, but I say the Mavericks are gonna win. I picked the Rangers, and then they show up on every other game. So it was like I was sweating it for the end, but I thought that I was gonna be okay. Stolen bases ended up being an okay, but looking forward to the next run. Hopefully I can keep the crown.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, congratulations again, Shane. That was a fun run. My plan is, I'll go ahead and tell you as the audience too, real quick, and we're out of here. We're going to run another contest basically through all of June and July, maybe half of August. That'll be with lots of WNBA stuff and maybe even a little bit of Olympic stuff. We'll see, but then definitely baseball stuff. But boy, come late August and early September, it's going to be all football chopping through there on our following contest. So got that to look forward to. My last final 60 for the night, and real quick here. I'm going to boo some NBA teams here for letting go of coaches. I think just too quickly. Darvin Ham of the Lakers being let go, J.B. Bickerstaff of the Cavaliers being let go, Frank Vogel being let go. These are all very capable coaches who actually had pretty good seasons, and simply because players really seemed to maybe not want that coach to be there any longer, seemed to be the primary ousting in all three cases. Now, again, it's not as if all three teams just soared to the heights of, NBA finals. Obviously they didn't, but these were teams that had pretty good seasons, and it seemed to really be more like, hey, the players involved, potentially involved, just didn't really want those guys around anymore. So I'm not a huge fan of that unless you're bringing in a better coach. In a lot of cases, we're just kind of swapping stuff out because we can't switch out the players. So these guys will find other jobs eventually. All three of them will. But, a little bit of a disappointment there to see this happening. It's not the first time it's happened. It will continue, I know. But I always hate to see good coaches lose jobs, especially when they put together pretty decent seasons. So anyway, Vogel, Ham, and Bickerstaff, we'll see them land on their feet here in the future. All right, that's it. We're done. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week. Have a great one. Goodbye.